would we be happier and have less corruption if we replaced governments with local ones? Okay, so this big idea, people are really starting to hate governments, right? And there lots of people on the on the internet they're saying maybe if we lived in small communities that would make things better.
Mm.
And here's a really short quote to kind of give the answer. Your leaders will be as you deserve. I put it there. It's a quote from Prophet Muhammad, right? If you have bad leaders, you deserve bad leaders because you're bad people, like corrupt people. Wait, what kind of leaders are you going to get from a corrupt society? Corrupt leaders, right?
Uh,
But you can't imagine if you have beautiful people who love each other and they're really nice to each other and everybody's good, where would the bad leaders come from, right?
yeah, where would the bad leaders come from? I know.
Yeah, so we deserve our bad leaders. So just having a smaller groups, that's not going to fix things because there's going to be smaller groups of bad people.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta fix ourselves. So anyway, my short answer, let me read this thing that I've got there. Our leaders' corruption is a reflection of our own. I've basically said this, isn't it? Oh, communes. So there's this thing, people live in communes sometimes, right? There's little groups, communes have their own corruption, right? So I won't go into, I'll probably go into it later maybe, but there's a commune, for example, somewhere in Wales where they live in a teepee, kind of these hut, and there's a lot of bullying that goes on there. For
Mm.
example, I mean, why should you expect somebody to be better just because they're in a smaller group? In fact, because they're in a smaller group, those individuals have bigger power. And what kind of power are they going to use? They're going to use their physical strength and stuff like that, right?
Mm.
So if you're like one tough person in a massive community like England, you can't use your physical strength to control everybody in England, can you? Yeah. But if you're only 20 people, maybe you could, right? So there's corruption in small groups as well. Okay. What ends corruption and increases friendliness is belief in God. Because when we realize that we are all God's children and so treat each other as brothers and sisters, that's a rubbish sentence. But anyway, the point is, I write this stuff really quickly, but it doesn't always make sense, right? So the point is that if we believe we're God's children, then we realize we have to treat each other as brothers and sisters. And when we realize we're brothers and sisters, that just makes people feel close.
It does.
It
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, you know, we have to, at the end of the day, we are God's children, and He created us from a single source, and we are His children. So, that's
Yeah.
how it
That's
is.
a
And we
Yeah,
have,
I like that little thing you just said. He created from a single soul, which is again a quote from the Holy Quran. Yeah, is that right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we come from one thing. We were all one thing originally. That's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
Um,
And I remember like even like like we can be if I said you're my brother, like you wouldn't be surprised. You'd be like, yeah, of course I am. Muslim brother, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
outside kind of this kind of religious way of looking at it, people find it. Imagine you said that to your average person on the street.
he'll be
They would
very horrified.
they'll be shocked. They'll be like, long lost brother? Like, do we have the same mother or something? Like, do you know what I mean? Or they'll just find that like some sort of hippie thing. But in religious communities, there's a sense of course we are. Of course we're connected. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Mm,
one of the things what I loved about when I was living in the Middle East. Um, People would just say, yeah, I'm your brother. I can help you with anything. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
It's like, ask me anything. I'm your sister or something like that. Even at work, because they all have the same mentality. Do you know what I mean?
But then
And
why in society, if we said in Western society, they will just tell us to back off or get lost. That's how rude Western society is. If you tell them, you are my brother, we are brothers, and you will not get a good response. It's like,
yeah,
in,
that's interesting. I remember saying that when I went to. So sometimes I have to go like to a primary school and explain something about Islam, right? And I say in Islam we're all brothers and sisters, not even just the Muslims, everybody. We're all brothers and sisters, right? And wouldn't that be nice? And so most of the kids got it. And these are like, I don't know, 8-year-olds or 7-year-olds, yeah. But one of the kids said, "Oh, that's a bit scary. Like everybody, like even strangers. I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." And fair enough. Like kids shouldn't just talk to all the strangers, especially when people are not so close together, right? Okay, but yeah. So you're definitely right that people are sort of scared from this idea of everybody being connected and everything, and maybe they don't trust each other because for so long they haven't trusted each other, right?
A
Maybe.
massive word. Big trust has literally, like, it's gone out the window. It's gone out the window. People are harming each other because they are different in society. You have people discriminating against one another because of different religions, because of a different color of race. And people say, "Oh, them lot there, well, they're different because they don't fit in as being as one of us because our religion culture is different to them." But the reality is that that is not the case. Too wise.
100%. I love that we just like we got Black Lives Matters, like not Black Lives Matters, everybody's lives matters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and 100% we seem to find hundreds of ways to divide society, one side against another society.
Yeah.
And so if we're just brothers and sisters, like, oh, I'm slightly darker than you, big deal, we're brothers and sisters. Do you know what I mean?
Another thing is you don't get, if you were to get a pack of dogs or a pack of cats, you get a white cat, you get a black cat, and you get a brown cat.
Yeah.
You get a white dog and you get a brown dog. Would there be so much discrimination amongst these animals? I think they would get along a lot better than us humans.
Wow, that is so true. It is true that from one parent, because we used to have a lot of cats and dogs and whatever, especially cats in Middle East as
Yeah.
pets, and they used to come out all different colors. One would be orange, one would be like, and how is that even happening? I don't understand it, but yeah.
These cats and these dogs, they're all brothers and sisters, and they get along better.
Wow, that is something to think about.
Now,
Wow. And the things you said about trust, that is so important. You know what people say nowadays? How can we trust anybody? And so they end up, funny enough, going to their pets. There's like, oh, we can't trust human beings because we always get hurt. Like, how can we trust people with our feelings and stuff like that? People say that, isn't it? Have you heard that?
yeah, something like yeah. I know.
Yeah. And they start calling everybody toxic as well. Like that's the opposite of trust. Everybody's toxic. Have you heard of that? People say, I don't know how popular that is, but I mean, say not popular, but I mean like a word that you hear around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's because of the wrong idea about love. Because people think that when you give love, you have to get it love back. And then they say, oh, I can't trust the person to give me love back. Okay, but that's not love then. Like when you show kindness, it's not like if I'm going to be kind to you, can you give me a £5 note for being kind to you? That's not kindness.
No.
That's like materialism, right? Okay, so kindness is I give you love and you don't know if anybody's going to be nice back to you.
No, you don't know.
Yeah. So so then there's no question of trust. It's like I'm being kind to you because I'm trying to make the world a bit better. Like if I'm kind to you, maybe you'll learn from my example. That's all it is. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll learn from my experience in 10 years' time after I'm kind to you for 10 years. And then you'll finally figure it out. And it's actually how the world changes because people don't learn straight away. If I'm kind to a mean person 100 times, they won't get it. But they might get it after 1,000 times. That's how you need patience.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's kindness teaches good manners, good mannerism, and kindness also teaches you to trust other people as well.
That's really true. Yeah. Like trusting and hope that they'll become better people or something.